Hari Om. Let's start with the prayer. Om Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Gurudeva Deva. Hari Om. So now we are looking at the Mahavakyas, the statements of the Vedanta that shows Jiva Ishvara Aikya Bodhaka Vakyam, which are called Mahavakyam. Of that, Tattvamasi is an instruction statement by the teacher to the student that you are that. And we are analyzing the validity of that equation itself, because from looking from the I am, that is instructions to the student, you are. So from the student point, I am that which includes the Ishvara, who is same as the Jagat also, according to the scriptural statement, where this statement comes, because existence alone was there before creation and it became many, and you are that. So you are that implies you are the many, as well as you are that because of which the whole world came into picture. That means you are the very cause for the creation itself. So here the equation as it stands doesn't seem to be valid, because based on the Vatsyartham, that means the word meaning itself, that Tat and Tvam do not seem to be equal, because I am is the as I understand is very localized, and Alpagyaha, Alpashaktiman and all that limitations of there, whereas the Ishvara, who is the Sarvagyaha, Sarvashaktiman, Sarvavapakaha, all that contradictory qualifications which cannot make the equation valid. So it cannot be Vatsyartham. That means it cannot be, the word meaning cannot be used to make the statement apparent. So therefore some acharyas differently interpreted, like Madhvacharya says, you can split the sandhi as atatvamasi, you are not that, which seems to be a valid statement, but I don't need a scripture to tell me that I am not that too 9 times to repeat it. Therefore there must be some other deeper meaning, because if I know already I am not that, I don't need a scripture to reinforce, because scripture has to be telling me something that I cannot either perceive or logically deduce, and that's why it's a pramana. Therefore what need to be understood is not Vatsyartham, not the word by meaning, but Lakshyartham, that which cannot be known through the word, direct word meaning. You have to see indicatory meaning, because this is a scriptural statement, and scriptural statement has to be valid. So I have to see in what way scripture is trying to point out something which I cannot see or I cannot deduce directly using the word meaning. And therefore says I had to discard the Viruddha Dharmaha, means contradictory qualifications of myself and contradictory qualifications that contradict with the Ishwaras. Therefore I am Alpagyaha, Alpashaktiman, and limited by space, time and Vastu, and he is infinite, and therefore he is all knowledge, and he is omniscient and omnipotent and so on. So therefore the contradictory qualifications of myself or the Atma and the equations of that have to be dropped out, because they are not really substantive. The qualifications are only for superficial Nama Rupatmakam only. Therefore I can drop them out and look at the very substantive, very essence of what is myself and Ishvara. So I am as an individual with Panchakoshas and the reflected consciousness and the original consciousness of the 3 components that are involved in the Jiva Swarupam that we have gone through. where pure consciousness all pervading, and the buddhi which is localized, and buddhi has the capacity to reflect the consciousness, therefore there is a chidabhasa, and reflected consciousness makes the buddhi as though it is a conscious entity, and all that is involved. So I had to reject this localized, the instrument buddhi, as well as the reflecting medium and the reflection, and only equate the essence, that because of which the buddhi itself is activated. And that's what essentially the panchakoshas are part of the upadhi. In the same way, Ishvara also, we have the pure consciousness all pervading, which is same as the pure consciousness which is all pervading from the jiva's point also. And also there is a reflecting medium, and the reflecting medium, in contrast to the jiva, it is the maya, and in the reflection is what is called Ishvara. So Ishvara involves three components. One is pure Satchidananda, another is Maya, and the reflection of the pure Satchidananda in the Maya called Ishvara. Same way, Jiva has three components predominantly. One is the subtle body, which is essentially the reflecting medium, and the reflection and the original consciousness. So the equation is to be valid only not from the buddhi point, not from the chidabhasa point, not from the Ishvara point, not from the Maya point, but only from the pure existent consciousness, Satchidananda, Tvam Asi, and that's what is the statement is. Therefore, I had to reject. So, yeta upadihi parijjivayostayoho samyak nirase na parahana jivaha. When I reject the superficial attributive contents of the jiva, which involves buddhi and its modifications and the reflections that occur because of that, also the Ishvara and the Maya, if I reject all of them, then that's called due to upadhi, which is kalpana. Because Ishvara is also kalpana, because the one who's from the point of pure consciousness, there is no creation even, therefore there is no Ishvara also. All that is to be understood properly by Vedanta, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. That's what is you need to study the Vedanta. Tad vijnanartham sa gurum eva abhigachet samitpanihi sotriyam brahmanishtam. You have to approach a teacher to study this under a competent teacher, and a competent teacher is the one who himself understood by approaching another competent teacher. Therefore, there is a Guru Parampara, and also there is a methodology of teaching, and also the teacher knows how to teach also. And that's why Sotriyam, and one who understood Brahmanishtaha, and that kind of teacher alone you have to approach to understand this, what has to be rejected and what has to be equated in the Tattvamasi. This will go to the next sloka 247 of the Vivek Chudamani. It says, Athata Adesha iti Sruti Swayam, Athata Adesha iti Srutihi Swayam, Nishedati Brahmani Kalpitam Dvayam, Nishedati Brahmani Kalpita Dvayam, Sruti Pramana-anugrihita yuktya, Sruti Pramana-anugrihita yuktya, Tayor Nirasa Karaniya Yitham, Tayor Nirasa Karaniya Yitham. So here the quoting from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. So Athata Adesha iti Srutihi, Athata Adesha Niti Niti iti Srutihi. From the Upanishad says the rejection has to be done, not this, not this, not this. Not this means I am not this, I am not this. So I am rejecting only the superficial attributive contents of or on top of the original one. That is, I am not. Taking an example of a ring, I am not a ring, I am not a bangle, I am not a necklace, but I am that because of which ring is, bangle is, necklace is. So all those, what I am rejecting is only the unsubstantive or superficial, only name and a form, but not the dravyam, What is the dravyam? What is that because of which it's made up of, by which it is sustained, into which it goes back? That is from the point of ring and a bangle and necklace. It is the gold only. So gold was, gold is, gold shall be. From the point of the totality, it is from the point of Sat Swarupam, and that's how the scripture starts. It is existence alone was there before creation, and it became many. Therefore, I am only rejecting in the not this only superficial attributive contents of all the objects, because every object is nothing but only attributive knowledge only, and that's what to be understood here. Athata adesha iti trusirihi, athata adesho neti neti iti srutihi, swayam brahmani kalpita dvayam. So this in the brahmani, in the swayam brahmani, swayam means that which is self-existing, absolute, the Sat Swarupa Brahmani, in that or on that, on as though on that, because from Brahman point there is no creation. So on the Brahmani, Kalpitam Dvayam. Since Dvayam, the duality or plurality, is almost as though imagined by the, obviously the mind, Kalpitam Dvayam, and Suti Pramana Anugrahita Yuktya. So how do I reject this? What is the to be rejected? And therefore I have to follow exactly the Shruti Pramana, using the Shruti Pramanam, Shruti as a means of knowledge for me to say exactly what need to be rejected. And therefore the Chandogya Upanishad provides you a systematic methodology of this teaching, where the Uddalaka starts, which is one karanam, ekakaranena, sarvam karyam. All products are. So what I am rejecting is only the cause itself became many, but in the many I am taking attributive, different attributes. I have to reject all those attributes that do not belong to the original one, only take that which is the substantive of all, because everything universe is nothing but vacharambanam vikaro namadeyam. It's only namke vaste, or it's only a namesake creation, for transactional sake creation, for just as the ring and the bangle or creation, all right, but they're only for transaction, because the ring, application of the ring is different from utility of the ring is different from utility of the bangle, etc. So each one is utility wise, transactability wise, perceptibility wise, all that. Because of that it is different. At the same time the essence is same. Bangle is the same as a ring. When I say ring and the bangle are one and the same, the equation is valid only at the point of the substantive, which is essentially gold, and not at the point of the attributives of the ring, which is different from the attributes of the bangle. Utility of the ring is different from utility of the bangle. So all transactional utilities are only for transaction's sake. Ring is useful, and use of the ring is different from the use of the bangle. So transactionally they are different. I am not separating that. While using and while transacting with the ring as a ring and the bangle as a bangle and the necklace as a necklace, I can say they are one and the same from the point of very substantive. Substantive means from which they came, that is karanam, that is because of which it is, without which it is not. Therefore that is what has to be analyzed, and this is applies, not easy to apply to ring and a bangle and a necklace or the gold ornaments, but I have to apply this when I am transacting in the world. Because when I am transacting in the world, this knowledge doesn't seem to work, because he is different, she is different, he is different. All problems in the samsara is because of the differences only. Whenever there is a difference, there is a problem and there is a fear, all that comes into picture. Therefore, I have to keep this understanding as a basis for my transactions itself. They appear to be different for transactional purposes, but from the knowledge point, it's one and the same. That recognition has to be there, and Suti Pramana Anugrahita Yuktya, by using the logic of it, and Tayor Nirasaha Karaniya Yuktam. You say here Yuktya means it is Shruti Sambandha Yuktam, that means it is a logic based on the Shruti, not logic based on the the pratyaksha pramana. So we are talking about yukti is nothing but anumana pramana. So anumana pramana is logical inferential statements, but inferential statements for my transaction purposes is based on the pratyaksha pramana. So therefore, so yatra yatra dhumaha tatra tatra agnihi, wherever there is a smoke, there is because of there is a fire there. So this deduction, I don't see the fire, but I'm seeing only the smoke only, not snake, smoke only. Therefore, I am deducing that it is essentially that which I cannot see from what I see. But in the case of the Laukika Anumana, I can go and confirm by testing it. Whereas in the case of Shruti Pramana, I cannot test, it's not logical, it's not perceptually validated because it is scriptural statement and I had to understand it, having complete faith and the scripture is telling something important, and that is knowledge has to be gained only through the scripture because the subject cannot be analyzed, the Brahman cannot be analyzed, but scripture is trying to point out using a Lakshana Vakya that which cannot be pointed out. Therefore, I should have a faith in the scripture as a pramana. So, Sruti Pramana Anugrahitam Yuktya Tayor Nirasaha Karaniya Ittam. So, this has to be done. The rejection of Neti Neti has to be done as dictated by the Sruti, as the following the rules of the Shruti. I had to reject what is not really real but only apparently real, because this became a big problem for many acharyas. They say this is also real, how can you reject it as not real? Says we are not rejecting the Vyavaharika Satyam, it's only transactionally real but not absolutely real. Ring and a bangle are transactionally real, but what is real is only gold. The value of the ring and the bangle depends upon the amount of gold, not amount of how big a ring is. So therefore, we are not rejecting the Nama Rupa, but we are only rejecting the validity of the reality of the Nama Rupa. Reality of the ring and the bangle we are rejecting. What we are asserting is the ring is nothing but the gold only, but therefore the value is due to gold, and therefore we preserve it properly in a safe place compared to an iron ring or some other ring, because of a value for the gold, not for the ring. Therefore, Sudhi Pramana Tayor Nirasaha Karaniyam. Therefore, a rejection of Neti Neti is not removing the duality, is only removing the artificial duality only in the process of rejection of Neti Neti. So, Tayor Nirasaha, all these dualities or differences that are being attributed to the whole world. So, Jiva Bhinnatvam, Jiva Jagat Bhinnatvam, Jagat Ishvara Bhinnatvam, all Bhinnattvams of everything, Desakala Vastu Parichinnatvam, in essence, the limitations by the space, time and object wise have to be nirasha, have to be rejected, not physically but intellectually or cognitively. I have to do it. And karaniyam ittam, in this way one has to arrive at what is the essence, so that one can equate what is the tat and what is the tvam, and therefore the validity of the equation becomes important. So this is further explained in the next sloka, which is 248. Nedam kalpitan vanna satyam, Nedam nebam kalpitan vanna satyam, Rajo drushtavyālavatu swapna vacha, Rajo drushtavyālavatu swapna vacha, Ittam drusyam sadhu yuktya vyapohya, Ittam drusyam sadhu yuktya vyapohya, Jneyah paschat ekabhavas bhavastayoryaha, Jneyah paschat ekabhavastayoryaha. Paschat Jneyaha, Yaha Ekabhavaha Tayoho. That's what Jneyaha Paschat Ekabhavastayoryaha. So, Nedam Kalpita, not this, that Kalpita, the imaginary projection of the plurality that I impose on top of the Brahman for my transactional purpose. This is a chair, this is a tree, this is a dog, this is all those differences are only attributive content, and essence of everything is nothing but the the Ishvara only. How do you say that? Because the scripture says this is in terms of Atmana Akasha Sambhutaha, Akashat Vayuhu, Vayu Agnihi, Agni Apaha, Abja Prithvi, Prithivya Oshadayaha, Oshadibhyonnam Annat Purushaha. So if you look at the hierarchy, it is starting from the same Karanam, but the difference as Panchabhutas are created and they are subtle Panchabhutas, and the grossification occurs. You get a gross elements and the whole lokas, everything starting from one source, one Karanam, and that was essentially pure existence itself that pervades all that, yet you have differences of Namarupam, and therefore what I am rejecting is only superficial attributive content, because that has no attributes and all the attributes are only superimposition due to the karyam, due to the products only. So nedam kalpitaha kalpitatvat asatyam, because they are not really real, apparently real. Satyam here is apparently real. It's not asatyam like Vanjaprataha. Vanjaputra is there is no locus for existence. Yet there is a locus for existence, but at the same time it is changing, therefore it's not satyam. Tayor akhandaika rasatvam rasatva siddhaye. So by rejecting the superficial and examining clearly the essence of everything that I am looking at, then what I see is Tayor akhandaika rasam, one unbroken, which is rasam, means the essence is really that pervades everything, and that is either from the existent point, it is pure existence, and from the conscious point, it is a pure consciousness, and from the ananda point, it is ananda point. So the ananda rasam only. So this has to be understood, and this can be done. Nalam jahatya natada jahatya kintu bhayarthaikaye भयार्तैकयैव भाव्यं भयार्थ एकतयैव भाव्यं. So tatastute lakshणaya